Oh, Jillian has it?
Yes, Chairman, I will be able to bring it up. Hang on one second.
Okay. Ally, I think it's 6 o'clock. We're live now?
I believe so.
Ally, are you muted?
Sometimes
Oh.
their things are making noise. It mutes me out. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Start when you're ready.
Okay. Let's just make sure we have, you see 5 people? You have Justin.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. Let's rise and salute the flag. Okay, Jillian, we have the flag up?
Yes, we do, Chairman.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ally, could you please read in certificate of compliance?
The time, date, and location of this meeting was posted in the Asbury Press and the Star Ledger and posted on the bulletin board in the office of the Township of Lakewood at least 48 hours in advance. The public has the right to attend this meeting, and reasonable comprehensive permit to this meeting will be available for public inspection. This meeting meets the criteria of an open public meeting.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please. Roll call.
Hold on, let me mute everybody else.
Okay.
Garfield.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Stern. Mr. Sable.
Here.
Mr. Flansbaum.
Here.
Mr. Herzl.
Here.
Mr. Renner.
Here.
Mr. Isaacson. Mr. Meyer. Mr. Rafe. Fuentes. Mr. Acker.
Okay, swearing in professional, Jillian or Mr. Jackson, who's there? Jillian, want to do it?
Yes, Chairman, if, okay, I see Terry there. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to resolutions.
Yes.
We have 5 resolutions.
We actually 4. I will get to that when we. First one though is the 2021 board meeting at the board.
Okay.
That's just a formal adoption.
Any board members have any comments on the dates are all okay? I think I checked those, so they should all be okay. So I would ask for a motion on the first one, adopt the calendar.
It's Jakey move.
We have a second. Dave, second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Draft
The
was good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the second one, the draft was not completed, so the board hasn't seen that yet. We're gonna carry that to the January 19th public hearing. We are ready to act on SC 2453, which is a minor subdivision.
Do you want to say who can vote on it?
Sure,
Thank you.
I forgot. For these next applications, present at the meeting was Mr. Garfield, Mr. Sable, Mr. Flansbaum, Mr. Herzl, and Mr. Meyer.
Okay. So I would ask for a motion on number 2.
So move, Justin.
Justin moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Jakey. All in favor? Aye.
SC 2394 is a major site plan for a school.
So move, Jakey.
Moved.
Second by Justin.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
And SC 2392 AA, change of use for a synagogue.
Move.
Moved. I'll second it. Okay, second by Justin, all in favor? Aye. Okay, Ally, we're on to the public hearing now. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, there are. The current agenda posted on the website does reflect this, but we have two items that are carrying and need to be announced for that carry. The first is SD 2443 and Soloff. They've requested to carry to January 5th, so I would recommend that this material be announced.
Okay, everybody who's not speaking, please mute yourself. Why are they carrying? Yeah, Mr. Sable?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we acted on SD 2444. Did we just vote on it? Maybe we just,
No, Ali said that it's being, it was not complete, the resolution, and we'll vote on it the next meeting.
Good idea. Okay, I see they uploaded online items about the park. Anybody, one of the board members want to look it over?
Okay, thank you. So, why is number 4 tabling?
2443, they had a problem with the notice. They missed 2 people, I think, so they have to renotice those 2 that they missed, and we will make the announcement for the sake of anyone who did receive the notice and is here tonight.
Okay, so, is Mr. Jackson there? Can we announce it? It'll be to carry to January 5th?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure if Mr. Jackson is
Okay, so can you do it?
Yes, I'm just going to go ahead and formally announce that SD 2443, Simon Soloff, will be adjourned to the January 5th, 2021 meeting. No further noticing required.
Okay, thank you. And which is the other one that's being adjourned?
There's a correspondence item for Joseph Lipschitz, SD 2010. That one has requested to carry. Mr. Flattery may be able to specify, but I think they're still meeting with some of the neighbors on that and possibly had gotten feedback from the DOT. They also requested January 5th.
Okay. Okay. Jillian, could we announce that, the correspondence?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Everyone should please be aware that SD 2010 Joseph Lipstitch under correspondence will be adjourned, carried to the January 5th, 2021 meeting. No further notice required.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're on to number 1, which is a courtesy.
Yes, this is a courtesy review. It's
Okay, I think Justin is stepping down on this one.
For the record, I'm stepping down on this. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, just to remind everybody, a courtesy review is just that. The applicant tells the board what they're doing. The board can give comments or advice, but as a governmental entity, they are free to do what they plan to do. They just have to give the board the courtesy of giving them the opportunity to know about it and to give input. So that's what we're here for. So with that said, who will be doing the presentation on behalf of the MUA?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. John Allen Pfeffer, on behalf of the applicant, Lakewood Municipal Utility Authority. As indicated, we're before the board for 2 things. One is a small minor subdivision. We're subdividing off.
I can't hear.
No, we cannot hear. Who's speaking over there? It's very unclear.
Hello?
I'm sorry. I had is this Mr. Pfeffer speaking right now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure. I'll take over muting anyone who's making any noise. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. As I indicated in the application, we are subdividing off a small
You have
parcel.
to come close to the mic.
About 15,000 square feet.
Adam, can you hold on a second? For whatever reason, your voice isn't coming across clearly. I don't know if you can move closer to the microphone. It sounds a little echoey.
You know, give me 1 second. I'll call into my phone and I'll mute myself on my computer. Give me 1 second.
Okay, we don't hear.
Okay, he says he's going to call in on his cell phone. So let's give him a minute to do that.
Okay.
In the meantime, this is SD 2464 for the Lake Township MUA. It's a courtesy review of both a minor subdivision and a site plan for property located on New Hampshire Avenue. Did you want to hear Mr. Voigt's review letter before?
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be brief. Ali put up a copy of our December 4th review. As indicated, it's a courtesy review for what's labeled as a GAC, which stands for granular activated carbon. It's a method of water treatment. I'm sure it's there to improve water quality from the plant. That is within 2 lots, which comprise approximately 15 acres. You also have a small minor subdivision conveying approximately 15,000 square feet from one lot to the other. As indicated in our review and as indicated on the plans, both of those activities are occurring several hundred feet away from any affected residential uses.
Excuse me for one, Harry. Ally, can you please give me the authority to mute people?
Okay, Jillian, there's an echo whenever I'm speaking.
Can you hear me now, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, now it's much better. Okay, 1 second. 1 second. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Can we proceed? Jillian, you ready? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Adam, please continue. Adam, do you hear us?
Sorry, they mute. Yep, sorry, I got muted. As Terry indicated, we're proposing a treatment facility to treat an emerging contaminant which the EPA and NJDEP are now regulating.
Jillian, I think Adam is the one ending in 7-2.
Yeah, I apologize. That was my fault.
No problem.
No problem. The MUA has been monitoring this contaminant for several years, and although we found very little traces at this location, the MUA will build this GAC facility to get ahead of it and to ensure compliance with all state and federal regulations. I do have Matt Wilder present, and he could be sworn in just to confirm everything in Terry's report. We have no objections to. And that's really the whole.
Are there any variances associated with this application?
No variances.
Okay. Okay.
So again, John, I don't know if we need to swear in Mr. Wilder. We have no objection to Terry's report.
Okay. Do any board members have any questions from Mr. Pfeffer or his professionals on this application?
Yeah, timetable.
Okay.
Is this going to create a cleaning or any fumes? Is there going to be any bleach or smoke or anything else be associated with this project?
No.
Can you tell me what a granulated activated carbon is? I have no idea what that is. What, it takes water and it does make whatever.
So again, for the technical questions, if you want, we can swear in Mr. Wilder, and also we have Justin Flanston, who is present, who is the executive director of the MUA.
Yeah, Mr. Wilder, will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm testimony you give before this board be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And can you just briefly explain to Mr. Sable what the answers to his questions were, or just answer his questions? Thank you.
Sure. So I guess in its most basic description, you basically take the water from the ground, you run it through this carbon filter, and it filters out the contaminants. That's in its most simplest terms.
Okay. And it doesn't create any new fumes or exhaust or anything pollution in the air?
No, the treatment occurs completely within the building itself.
Okay. How big is the building going to be?
Just about 4,100 square feet. It's 82 by 50, I believe.
1 story, correct?
Yes, 1 story.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from any board members?
Yes,
Okay, Dave.
David here.
Yes.
I'll put it into one, sidewalks and shrubs. Will there be sidewalks around it and landscaping?
We are proposing sidewalk around the building. We are not currently proposing additional landscaping. As Mr. Pfeffer indicated, we're so far from any really residential properties, and much of the surrounding area is wooded, we didn't think the need for additional landscaping.
This is right next to the MUA building where it's currently?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's actually just west of the solar array.
And what
Okay.
about along the side where the homes are?
Okay, just to be clarified, this is an area that's already behind a gate. You need access to get back there. This is not for the public to access.
No, I just think, it's nice to look nice. Okay.
It's set back in the area. If you can look at the map that see that alley has. there's a gate
Dave,
already.
if you look on the map, it's a tremendous area.
Yes. I'm
Okay.
looking at it.
Again, I've been there a lot of times. It's all fenced off, and I don't think it's close to any houses over there.
Can I be sworn in?
Yeah. Justin. Mr. Jackson, you want to swear in Justin?
Mr. Flansbaum, please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony you'll give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Just to answer Mr. Garner's
Justin, you're speaking as the applicant,
I'm here.
Yeah,
not as a board member.
I'm executive director of the Municipal Utilities Authority. Dave, just to address your question, there are no houses around the area at all.
Okay. And I was at your property. It's very far away.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question to Mr. Flansman?
Yes.
Okay, Justin, I'm sure you're aware of the planning board always busy with sidewalk. I think this area is only, I'm looking at Google Maps, the new shopping mall, the shop, has sidewalk on New Hampshire, and then by the urgent care, is continuing, well, actually at your property, there's still sidewalk, except for that entire area from the beginning of your property until adjacent. I don't know if it's related to this property. I don't know if we can actually request for you to do it. Can we consider that? If you know what I'm talking about.
Two things, if I could just address, number one, that's not
Yeah, Mr. Sable,
what we're talking about.
This is a courtesy review, and the board can make a recommendation to the applicant. But
Additionally, just to be clear, I think in the area that Mr. Sable's talking about, which we can't touch.
Oh, okay.
Or is wetlands?
Not in this area where he's talking about sidewalks.
On New Hampshire.
Right.
There you go. There you go. Zoom in a little more. So the shop has, where you're showing the shop has sidewalk. Go for it. South.
I'm sorry, I'm lost because the map doesn't really have a key map, so I don't know where this is in relation
You did it right.
to Google.
Ali, that's correct. That area, I was wondering if we can recommend sidewalk, if possible.
No. That's our presentation.
Did we lose you, Keel?
Can you hear me?
so now the question is whether the board has any input or recommendations to make to the applicant.
Okay, I was muted. Right. We have one recommendation from Mr. Sable. Do we have any other recommendations from any board members?
I still like some trees put in along the area facing the homes or whatever it is there.
There are
I
no.
just think it'd be something showing the people living in the area. We asked them to put trees up.
Okay. So I think we can go forward, and you have two recommendations from the board to continue, add more sidewalks and to add more trees. Do we have to take a formal vote on it?
There's no homes near the property.
I know that too.
I didn't say near the
Just to be
property.
clear,
I said
the area we were asking for sidewalks is a conservation area. We cannot put sidewalks in.
If we cannot legally do it, then we're not going to require or request you to do it or recommend.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, do we need a motion on this?
It probably, yes, the board can make a motion, whether it recommends the capital improvement or whether it does not.
Okay, so at this time, I would ask for a motion.
Do we need to open to the public?
I don't think so.
Courtesy review,
I don't think so. We
Didn't
never
receive
open
any
courtesy.
emails. I was just being careful.
Okay,
I will make a motion to recommend this project,
do you have anything to add to it, or just the way it is?
just the way it is.
Okay, do we have a second?
second.
Okay, Dave, second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Garfield,
Yes.
Mr. Sable, Mr. Mr. Sable. No, I'm sorry, Jillian, can we mute everybody else? I think it's just Adam now. I got John. Mr. Sable, can you hear me? Oh, you have to send him an unmute, Mr. Sable.
Bear with me for one moment. I'm just,
Thank you.
okay, I sent the request to Mr. Sable.
Let me know when you're here, Haim.
I'm here now.
Thank you. And you're
Jake, is
Action
your
on the
recommendation? Is your recommendation with the? Is your motion with the recommendation for sidewalk if possible?
Fine, there can't be sidewalk. It's a conservation area.
The entire area, a small area with the wood. There
can't be sidewalks put there. Adam said it's a conservation area.
Okay. I'm gonna abstain from the vote.
You're not what?
Standing.
Okay. We need 5 on this application. You can abstain and that's still 5. Okay, Mr. Herzl.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I got you. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, you're welcome.
Ellie, you're not muted, but I can't hear you. Are you there, Ellie?
Yes.
Is that a yes on the motion?
Yes on the motion.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
So motion approved.
I would recommend that while we have a quorum, in case we lose anyone, I believe Mr. Sable may not be staying and Mr. Rennert may have a conflict. Let's take the one correspondence item.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not. This is Ellie. I'm not going to vote on this correspondence.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I need to do the correspondence while Mr. Sable is still here, even though Ellie may be able to sit on the rest of the application.
Okay, Mr. Flansbaum, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. I'm back on for the record.
Okay, so who's the attorney on this correspondence?
Flannery is here for this one. I can just advise the board that this was a previous subdivision approval with sort of a remainder lot. And before they go and develop that remainder lot, the township engineer asked that they clarify with the planning board if they were aware that this lot was being developed this way.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Adam Pfeffer.
1 second. Terry, do you have a report on this? Terry, are you there?
Excuse me, Chairman, are you talking about the correspondence item?
Yes. Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't have a report.
Okay, so we'll go to attorney. Adam, are you the attorney on this application?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Just,
As Ally has,
before we start, Jillian, you placed Terry under oath, right?
I I did at the beginning of our meeting.
Okay. And, okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Pfeffer, go ahead.
No problem. I also have Brian Flannery to address any technical questions, but as Ali has up in front of the screen, the applicant has a previous approval in which it talked about that any changes to the site would have to come back before the board. I believe it's a approximately 2-acre site. No changes are really occurring. However, as a technicality, we have to come back before the board as per the resolution. If we could swear in Mr. Flannery just to address any technical items, we could take care of that.
Mr. Flannery, do you swear affirm testimony will give before this board the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I'm Flannery Jackson, New Jersey, licensed professional engineer and professional planner. And my opinion on this is we don't really even have to come back to the board. It's more a courtesy. The township engineer wanted to make sure the board knew we were doing it. When this was approved, there was a 2-acre lot in the back that the applicant had hoped to develop, and it was labeled as such to be retained by owner future development. The resolution said the area in the back is proposed for future development for which the applicant would return to the board to obtain any necessary site plan approvals. The envisioning of that was that something more than a duplex would be built there. A duplex doesn't need any site plan approval. It's an existing lot that a duplex is a permitted use, so there's really no action that's needed by the board. We're here for information so that, the board doesn't see something getting built there and think, did somebody...
How big is that lot?
It's a 2-acre lot.
Is he putting more than one duplex on it, no?
He's putting one duplex on it. That's what we submitted a plot plan for the duplex to the building department. Township engineer said, as a courtesy to the board, please come back and show them so that nobody's surprised.
And you're building the one duplex on the whole 2 acres. You're not subdividing anything.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, any board members have any questions? Okay, hope nobody's muted. Do we have to open this to the public, Mr. Jackson?
I don't think they noticed, if that makes a difference.
We didn't notice because there was no action being done. This is a courtesy review for the board.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the board needs to give a formal action or just an acknowledgement that they don't feel this is a material change.
As long as they're building a single house or one duplex, I think that's a zoning officer could sign it off. I don't think that has to come back to us.
That's what they're doing. They're just asking the board to confirm and ratify basically that this.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Jackson. If you're building more than one house, more than a duplex, then you have to come to our board.
Right.
This is just a regular single house. Okay?
Right.
Okay, so is everybody in agreement that we can build a duplex on that single lot?
I have no objection.
No objection.
Okay. Okay. So be it. We're not taking formal action on you, Mr. Jackson, right?
We would just ask that it could just be a letter from Mr. Jackson's office, just confirming that we came before the board and that there's no action needed for the duplex.
We will prepare that letter, or Ally can. He wants to do it.
Or Ally,
I can prepare it
that we can send over.
I have a template for it if you want me to. I'll just send that out tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, on to number 2.
Our next application is a minor subdivision to adjust lot lines. There are 3 lots on Paranetta Avenue. The application is SD 2456.
Okay, Terry, would you like to go through the report?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm reading from our October 30th letter. Going under submission waivers, you have submission waivers including topo and contours. We can support the waivers for reasons stated in the letter.
Okay, do we have a motion to go along with engineer's recommendation? To grant waivers? Moved. Do we have a second?
Second by Ali.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Terry, please continue your report. Terry, you're muted.
Terry,
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Continuing on page 3 of our review under zoning, one of the lots, proposed lot 11.03, has dual frontage and requires front yard setback relief from both roads. And then under design waivers, a waiver sought from the improvement of Bradshaw Road, as well as side lot lines not being perpendicular.
Okay. Anything
And
else?
street trees as well, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Terry.
That's no comments, Chairman.
Thank you, Terry. Who's the attorney on this application?
I am, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much. Good
Okay.
evening. Good evening, Miriam
Are you
Weinstein,
there?
on behalf of the applicant. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now. We see you, we hear you.
You see me too. Okay, great. This is a pretty simple application for minor subdivision approval. All we're trying to do is realign 3 recently created lots into 2 lots. This application does not require any new variance relief, but simply requires reaffirming the existing variances for front yard setbacks. The purpose of this application is to realign these lot lines now that a beautiful new home has been constructed on the 40,000 or so square foot lot, which has amenities such as a pool, basketball court, and tennis court. So they're just trying to move the lot line over a little bit to help with the setbacks from their amenities. Simple as that. And with that, I'd like to turn over to Brian Flannery and ask that he be sworn.
Mr. Flannery, do you swear affirm testimony will give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Brian Flannery, Jackson, New Jersey. As Miriam indicated, this is merely a application to adjust the lot line. Nothing's being built. There's 3 lots that are, it's being reconfigured. So it's 2 lots, 1 40,000 square foot lot. All the lots conform in size. We submitted a copy of the tax map, which shows where the property is. It's right on Lake Minetta. We submitted that would be A1, the tax map exhibit. A2 is an aerial exhibit, again, which shows it. It's right on Lake Minetta. It's a beautiful area, as Miriam described the property. It's a very nice dwelling. And then the colored map, which just shows that the line is being skewed a little to create a triangle in the back and the front that provides more area in the yard area in the back of the larger lot. Nothing's being built. Going to the report, zoning on page 3, it indicates the minimum front yard setback variance, which is an existing condition for the existing home. It mentions the design waivers for not improving Bradshaw. And I'm sure the board is familiar with Carinetta. There's lots of beautiful houses in this area. It's beautifully landscaped. There's no reason for Carinetta. There hasn't all along, and there's no reason in the future. With respect to the existing variances, to the extent the board has to reaffirm them. If you look at the...
So Brian, there are no new variances.
That is correct. No new variances. I would just quickly put this on the record in case, it's needed in the resolution. The 2017 master plan, the vision statement, and says encourage development and redevelopment based on smart growth planning. This does this. The municipal land use law, NJSA 40:55 D2, under the purpose of the act, says encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use of development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote public health, safety, moral, and general welfare. It's my testimony that this does this. These are C2 variances, and we certainly qualify for all the C2 variance criteria. With respect to the rest of the report, will satisfy the board engineer during resolution compliance.
Brian, how do you go from 3 lots down to 2? Usually works the other way around. You try to squeeze in the extra lots.
If you're looking at A3, though, you see the beautiful house that's being built here. It's similar to when we were here a few months ago with applicant up by North Lake Drive who wanted to build a beautiful house. There's people that want to have a beautiful lot like this, and they're adjusting the lot lines in cooperation with their neighbor to come out with the best situation. So
yeah, you're losing a lot.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any questions from any board members? Jill, is everybody muted? Anybody has any board members have any questions from Mr. Flannery?
I'll send a request to all the board members to unmute themselves.
If they have any questions. Okay, I'll wait a minute and then I'll open it to the public. Ali, you check if there's any correspondence,
I did not receive.
anything. Mr. Jackson, you didn't either receive anything. Okay,
I'm looking right now, I don't see anything.
okay. So I would ask for a motion on this application, on the realigning of this.
I'll make a motion to approve this application.
Jakey moves to approve. Do we have a second?
This is Justin. I'll second.
Okay, second by Justin. Roll call, please.
Mr. Garfield. Mr. Garfield, are you there?
I think Mr. Garfield is on a cell phone. He cannot click on the word unmute me.
I just resent the request to unmute, I believe, to Mr. Garfield.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we hear you. Mr. Garfield.
Yes.
Okay. Are you voting yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Sable.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Flansbaum.
Yes.
Mr. Herzl.
Yes.
Mr. Renner left. Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, can we
Thank
still
you
have a
very
call?
much.
Okay. Mr. Rennet left for the night?
Yes.
Okay, we still have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so let's go on
Chairman, can you
to,
find out if the rest of any of the other board members got their packages for this application? I did not get it, and neither did I get for the next one.
okay.
2458.
Did anybody get it, or just maybe missed me?
I got it.
Okay, good. Good enough.
Nothing I got it, so. Okay, Ali's gonna bring it up on the screen. We're about to see it.
This is SE 2458 for Orview Investments. It's a minor subdivision to create 3 lots on Marlin and Albert from 2 lots.
Okay, we're making up for the one before. Okay, Terry, would you like to go through the report, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm reading from our review dated November 23rd, going to the bottom of page 2. It's in the R20. Variances have been identified or requested with the application. Under design waivers on page 3, a waiver from street tree planning is required for a portion of Marlin Avenue as identified in the plan on the letter.
Okay,
That's all the relief.
okay, thank you. Ali, who is the attorney on this one? Or the engineer?
This one is Mr. Doyle, if we want to unmute him.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Doyle. Okay. Please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, this is a relatively simple 3-lot minor subdivision with no variances. There is one existing house, which Ali, I know a picture was sent to you just before, whether that could be put up. Thank you. That is the existing house at 727 Albert. The only change that would be made in that, and by the way, while you're looking at the picture, there is a comment about adding 2 shade trees to this beautifully integrated landscape plan for this home built in 2015. I think that would be unnecessary given what you're looking at. This lot will have added to it a strip from the other side. There is a area behind it that has a house and enough land to create 2 separate lots and demolish the existing house shown on the northerly lot. The applicant would also like to protect the existing home on Albert by having the 18-foot strip attached from the rear of the lot on, or proposed lots on Marlin to his lot on Albert. Other than that, I think it's a relatively standard application. The only issues I would like to address before I call my engineer, I've addressed one, which is the landscaping addition to what is already there, as I said, was very beautiful. If I could have the plan that shows the X's on it, and I'll explain those. It was on the screen briefly. The two lots are to be on Marlin. Terry, who does what any municipal engineer should do, and that's to suggest that there's some improvements that could be made, wants us to put in sidewalks and curbs, which we propose, as well as to pave to the half width of Marlin. There are 34 lots along Albert, along Marlin. Of those 34 lots, recently there have been 14 that are marked in X's that have been constructed. None of them have been required or got waivers from any requirement to do the half width that is asked of us. We're the two lots in yellow. As you can see, 9 of those 14 are on our side of the street, one right next to us. As I passed and drove down that street this past weekend, I observed that Marlin is, as Terry says, not in great shape, but it's still not in great shape in front of all of those homes that have been built within the last years. So hopefully we wouldn't be required to do what none of our neighbor and the other lots have not been required to do. And to change this one lot out of the 33 other lots isn't going to change Marlin. Finally, let me note, under the recent ordinances, we are in a TID zone. So my client will be forced to pay several $1,000s for the regional improvements to ask him to do what nobody else is asked to do. In addition, that I think would represent an onerous penalty. With that said, I would say that every other comment is one that, as Terry notes in his second review, we having supplied a submission is either factual, we will comply with, it is something to be done at the compliance stage, or by the plot plan. So I think the two issues I made reference to, subject to whatever Terry might add, are the only ones that might need comment. But with that said, if I could have Mr. Sermont sworn.
Okay.
Mr. Sermont, do you swear affirm testimony will give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I don't see him. See there? Hold on. See muted?
I saw a label for any.
Okay, I see, but he's muted. And he's muted.
I just sent a request to unmute.
Okay. He's still muted. Any of you there, please unmute yourself.
Check.
Mute these.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Yes.
While we're waiting for Annie or Chuck, I just wanted to respond to Mr. Doyle's request relative to the half width paving. I believe he's talking about item 16 of our review. We would be amenable to a partial waiver, but as indicated, we'll need a mill and overlay to the center line sufficient to have adequate paving and drainage. I would recommend if the board wants to grant a partial waiver, that paving along the property frontage be to the satisfaction of the engineering department as well as Public Works.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, Terry, having down the street and the corner of Salem and Marlin, the most houses that had newly installed curbs and sidewalk, I saw some feathering of the pavement to accommodate the curbs that went in. But are we talking about more than that?
I cannot comment, John, because I don't have survey documents that specifically show the area of paving. All I'm indicating is we'll be amenable to granting relief to the extent that proper improvements will be done, A, to ensure adequate paving along the frontage, and B, to ensure adequate drainage along the frontage. I don't know what that is sitting here. I'm simply recommending that that be deferred to the engineering department as with any input as necessary from Public Works. This is standard procedure for most of the road work that's done.
Okay.
Appreciate it's standard procedure to ask for it, but as that map showed and as my own observations showed, I'll ask Chet to confirm that. What's being is not in place, particularly those two in purple on Marlin and Salem, as well as I don't necessarily on our next door neighbor.
Did you hear me yet?
Yeah, we hear you, Ernie.
Oh, good. It's Chet.
Okay, you have to be sworn in by Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Samant, do you swear or affirm the testimony you'll give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Sarmont, you are by reason of your education, your degree, your license by the state, and license items appeared before this and other boards in the Monmouth Ocean area frequently who have acknowledged your expertise in the areas which you'll testify this evening.
Yes, Mr. Doyle.
You're familiar with the site, the application, and everything that's been submitted?
Yes.
You've heard the dialogue between me and Mr. Boat regarding the street.
Yes.
The other statements I have made, to the best of your knowledge, you're under oath. I wasn't. Are they true and accurate?
They are. We've actually surveyed in pretty good detail that frontage area. And we feel that with a very limited amount of reconstruction from the edge of the existing edge of pavement, that we can create a gutter profile that will ensure positive drainage flow across the entire frontage.
So, excuse me, Chairman, we're not arguing. All I'm telling you is I can't sit here tonight and say, if you add 5 square feet, everything's going to be great. I'm simply saying in lieu of a full half with reconstruct, work with our engineering office, they'll get input if necessary from Public Works, and we'll come up with something that meets the required standard. That's all I'm saying.
Terry, are the plans not complete? That you don't have enough information?
You're talking about a minor subdivision, Chairman.
Right.
From a design standpoint, they're not to the level of, a fully designed major subdivision or major site plan.
Okay.
This is a common occurrence. If someone submits for plot plans and it fronts a road, we're going to look along the gutter and make sure it's adequate paving.
Right. And
what I'm saying is, we simply want the opportunity to comment as to what is minimally needed, most likely not a full half width.
Chet, do you think that the drainage and the brought to the curb in a way that is satisfactory to meet the engineer's normal concerns in less than half width?
I would. I think if Terry had enough time on his hands, I know he's busy, to take a closer look at the plans. there is sufficient existing and proposed grading information for us to make that determination, but
Yeah,
I don't want to push it any further.
yeah.
But,
Chet,
but I hear what
you've dealt with our engineering department. You have a feel for what they're going to look for.
I do.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I hear you. I just try to, I guess Mr. Doyle's trying to just tighten it up a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, I think they'll work it out.
Okay, no problem. Okay, you want to continue going through the application?
With respect to the shade trees on Albert, that house is landscape.
You chopped it.
Is there anything?
I don't hear you, Mr. Doyle. I don't hear the engineer.
I'm gonna mute some people. Hold on. John, we weren't hearing you before. Do you want to say it again?
Okay, thank you, Ali. It's much better.
Chet, I don't know whether he left us, but if he did, I don't know that there's anything more that we could add, and I appreciate his comments. I appreciate Tari's comments, and I'm sure, as they have in the past, they'll work together. I don't think the aim is necessarily to provide the paving to the half width, but to provide whatever it takes up to a half width to make sure it properly drains, and we understand that.
Okay, thank you. Any board members have any questions from the applicant?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Dave, please continue.
Thank you. On lot number 20.01, does the pool remain the house? They remain the owners of the pool.
The 22.01 is attached to the house, and it is the intention to develop both of those lots. The current owner, I believe, is a tenant, and it is owned by C. That is this applicant, so all of that will go.
Mr. Doyle, your engineer is still on.
I'm here, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Chet.
So the question related to the pool on the Albert Avenue lot?
Yes.
And the question was, will that pool remain?
Well, yes, that's.
It will remain a part of the Albert Avenue lot.
Okay, now, and it's fenced in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's.
That's all I wanted to know.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Okay, any board members have any other questions for the engineer? Seeing none, we'll open it up to the public. Ali, is there anybody on the public who would like to be heard on this application?
I did not receive any comments on this application.
Hi, Chairman, it's Chaim Sable from.
Yeah, Chaim, yeah, please go ahead.
Terry, if they want to come back and put a school over there, they have to come back in front of the board.
Terry,
I'm sorry, that's my understanding.
Residential. They are proposing residential.
Correct.
If they come
Schools
back-
are a permitted use, but it's my understanding, if it's over 1,500 square feet of building area, yes, they got to come back to the board.
Right. I think any school has to come back, no? Change of use for a school, they have to come to a board, no?
Most likely.
Okay,
All right. Okay, thank you.
okay. I would ask for a motion on this application.
I'll make a motion for this application.
Okay, Mr. Meyer move, Mr. Sable seconds, roll call, please. Ali, are you there?
Mr. Garfield,
Yes.
Mr. Sable,
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough,
Yes.
Mr. Herzl,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the last application.
Good to see all of you. Good night.
Good night, everybody, thanks.
Our
Okay.
last application is SP 2395, made by Mayoro Space Yakov Inc. It's a major site plan for a school on Rockaway Avenue.
Okay, Terry, would you like to go through the report, please? please.
Yes, I would, Chairman. I'm reading from our December 10th review, which Ally has a copy up on the screen. Going to the bottom of page 2, going on to page 3 under submission waivers, you have topo contours, the man-made features within 200 feet, plans and profiles of utilities, EIS, and architectural elevations. We can support the waivers for reasons indicated in the letter
Okay.
for hearing purposes.
Do we have a motion to go along with the engineer's recommendations?
Move.
Grant the waivers?
Moved by Justin.
Justin moves. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Jakey. Dave, all in favor? Aye. Okay, Terry, please continue the report.
Thank you, Chairman. Continuing on the bottom of page 3, section 2, zoning. Relief is required with respect to perimeter buffer, as indicated per comment 2, as well as the parking lot location within the buffer per comment 3. Partial relief may be necessary with respect to bus loading and unloading. We'll get testimony on that shortly. I believe that's it in terms of zoning relief. And then finally, on page 4, under section 3, design waivers. A design waivers required from improving Caldwell Avenue. We had recommended Caldwell Avenue to be improved to provide a second access to Oak Street. The applicant has provided a traffic study, which I would suspect that there will be some testimony upon. That's our comments.
Thank you. Who is the applicant's attorney?
Gerald Klein appearing on behalf of the applicant.
Yeah, do we see you? Hi, Mr. Klein.
Hi, good evening. Good evening to the board. Gerald Klein over here on behalf of the applicant, Maoris Besiakov Inc. As the board is aware, this is for the application for a major school on the Oak Street corridor. It's a permitted use in the zone. At the same time, we have Brian Flannery representing the applicant. And without further ado, I'd like to ask him to take the board through the application and with any questions they may have.
Mr. Flannery, do you swear or affirm testimony will give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Mr. Flannery, are you muted?
I think Jillian has to unmute him.
Jillian, you have your hands tied up.
Okay.
Okay.
Brian Flannery, Jackson, New Jersey, licensed professional engineer and professional planner. This site is indicated is for a girls' school, and it's in the Oak Street area. We have a rendering of the tax map, sheet 138 of the tax map that was submitted that shows where the property is located. We've also submitted an aerial showing where the site's going. There's existing trailers on the site now. There's an existing school on the lot between us and Oak Street, and the rest of the back is all trees. The plan shows the very large parking lot in front of the site. It shows the school. The school does have a hall in the basement, and our testimony is that the parking that's provided is in excess of the ordinance requirements, and it's in accordance with what's actually needed for the site. The relief that we're asking for is with respect to buffer, and this area we're buffering to Caldwell Avenue, which isn't even constructed. And in my opinion, there's really no reason to construct it. When you go a little further south, it's the area that's mainly owned by the town that's put in a sending district. The intention would be to keep the trees in that area and use that area of township-owned trees for tree clearing. So I'm not sure that Caldwell would even go anywhere, and Rockaway would go much further than this. There was an application on the township-owned property just behind this for a school, and I would anticipate that would be the next development on that site. The town would sell it to a school. This whole area, as we all know, is an area where the town is providing access to private schools, which are greatly needed in the town. We submitted a rendering, which was up before, which shows how the building is going to be. It's got lots of relief to it. It's got different variations on the on the structures. It's got, you know, the lower level has some brick veneer, you have stone veneer, and you have differing veneers along the building. It's going to be a beautiful building in that area, and exactly what the township is looking for in providing the school for these girls. If we look in the report, it indicates on zoning on page 3, it's a permitted use. The relief that we're requesting from is the buffers. My testimony that due to the nature of what's in this area, we meet the intent of the buffer. There's nobody that's getting infringed on. The buffers that are specified in the ordinance are the same buffers that would be required if you were adjoining a residential property, which we're not.
Brian, the buffers are to the unpaved road in the back. That's what you said before, Caldwell?
There's a buffer to the unpaved road in the back. There's a buffer to the side lot line, which we could comply with, again, by eliminating 28 parking spaces.
One second. That sideline, what's on the other side of that?
Trees.
Is residential what?
Well, it's zoned R10A. It's owned by the Township of Lakewood. There was an application that came to this board earlier this year for a school on this property, and the board sent that school back to the drawing board based on the number of parking spaces. When I get to the testimony on the number of parking spaces here, I think you'll see that the way the board reviews applications and the way the applicants understand what the board's looking for, this applicant understood what the board was looking for and provided it.
So technically, even if that applicant comes back, it's going to be another school. It's going to be it's going to be a parking lot to parking lot, basically.
Correct.
Okay, so
and the same thing on the north side of us. It's school to school, so there's really no need for that kind of a buffer. And
there's no residential houses over there.
That is correct.
Okay.
So,
so please go through the report.
Item 2 and 3 speak to the buffer relief, which is something that we actually need, and I'll give the justification for that. Item 4 is with respect to the parking and the bus loading area. Bus loading area is in front of the site, and it has accommodates 2 rows of buses, but it's a curved-in area. And if you read the ordinance with respect to that, the first sentence sounds like we need relief, but when you read the whole sentence, it's my opinion that we don't. It's section 18-906 E2 of the UDO, and it says bus loading and unloading areas shall be situated in a manner so that children do not cross any traffic lane or parking area whatsoever. And that sounds like, well, they have to cross a parking area here, but then the end of the sentence says, unless it is an area that is curbed and physically separated from traffic circulation and specifically designated solely for bus loading and unloading. My testimony is that this complies. It's a very efficient of it, and it provides safe and convenient place for bus loading and unloading. So the relief that we need is with respect to the buffer.
Brian, you're not going to have all the buses there at the same time anyway.
No. But we've shown an area that can accommodate all the buses if they all came at the same time. And I know when my kids went to Holy Family, the buses would come, there'd be a few of them there. The school would load everybody on the buses, and then they'd all leave at the same time. And I'm sure it's the same at all the private schools that have a busing of this nature. And it works well, and the schools know how to do that. And my testimony is that it complies with the letter of the law in the ordinance. As well.
Question, Chairman?
Yeah, Terry.
I just want to get on record. Are you going to have adult supervision for students getting on and off buses?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So with respect to the relief that's needed, the only relief we need is with respect to buffers, which my testimony is the buffering is that's specified in the ordinance is more buffering toward residential. School to school, it's my testimony that providing the additional parking is certainly something that's a benefit, and the buffering is not needed. Going through the report, we're asking for a design waiver to not improve Caldwell Avenue, and we feel that we don't need Caldwell Avenue. We feel that Caldwell Avenue right now has trees between where our property would come out and Oak Street, and it has trees behind it all the way out to Vermont. And it's my opinion that that's not needed. The real problem with the traffic on Oak Street, I think any of us that have driven on Oak Street know what it is that people park all along the edge of Oak Street because it's a more convenient parking space, walk into the schools that are there than to pull into the parking lot. Anytime I've been in those areas, the parking lots have plenty of parking spaces. It's just more convenient to park on the street. We've proposed, and we would work this out during resolution compliance with your board's engineer. If the board acts favorably on the application, it would be a striping of Oak Street to provide a turning lane and eliminating the on-street parking, which creates the problem. And if the board acts favorably, we would do that as part of the compliance project. Looking at the ordinance with respect to the relief requested, if we look at the master plan of 2017, the vision statement on page 7 says, encourage growth and development in appropriate locations consistent with established land uses. I don't think I even have to explain that. Everybody knows what this area is. It's a school area. It's very appropriate, and it's consistent with established land uses. On the same page, it says provide sufficient educational, recreational, and community facilities to meet future needs. That's what we're talking about here. We're providing a school that certainly provides a need that we all know in Lakewood is needed. On page 10 of the same master plan of 2017, under community facility strategies, it says continue to support the development of private schools in the township of Lakewood. And that's what we're doing. The municipal land use law, NJSA 40:55 D2, under the purpose of the act. A is encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of lands in a state in a manner which will promote public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. And this certainly promotes the general welfare. The buffer relief, since it's in section 9, is characterized as a variance. It would be a C2 variance. We need to show it relates to a specific piece of property. I think this property with its location with the schools meets that. The purpose of the municipal land use law would be advanced, which is what I testified to. The variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, and because there's only schools and right-of-ways here in township-owned property, it's my testimony there's no adverse impact on the surrounding properties. The variance will not impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance, and it actually enhances the purpose of both. And the benefits outweigh the detriments. My testimony is there's really no detriments to this. There's only benefits. Continuing through the report, the design waiver that we're asking for is not improving Caldwell. It wasn't required on the school to the north of us. We don't feel it's needed. And to the extent that some additional trees can stay there, it's my testimony that it would be appropriate not to require this applicant to do that. Continuing on the review comments, item 3 talks about the bus lane, and it's my testimony that we provided a bus lane that accommodates the busing and a safe loading and unloading area. Item 8 asks for a number of students and that kind of information, which was provided in the traffic report. 1,300 girl students, K to 7, and it lists the appropriate staffing in accordance with that. Then we get to the question that comes up on any of these applications with respect to the hall, and there is a 12,000 square foot hall that's proposed in the basement of this building, and that's why the 314 parking spaces are here. With respect to
Brian, how big is the hall?
the hall is 12,000 square feet. It's a big hall, so it would accommodate 600 to 800 people, not all at the same time, but if we put that in perspective, Lake Terrace has 350 parking spaces, so we have 90% of the parking that Lake Terrace has, and Lake Terrace can accommodate 1,200 people. So they're accommodating 50% more than us. So Lake Terrace works. I know sometimes you have to park in the back of Lake Terrace, but I've never been to Lake Terrace where I didn't find a place to park. Not always convenient, but there is a place to park. But we're providing a parking ratio that exceeds that.
So your testimony is you don't need the parking because the school, you have enough parking for the school. And should you use it as a whole, you have ample parking for everybody coming in.
If we looked at the closest regulation in the Lakewood ordinance for parking for the hall, it would be the same as what's done for the shuls, and that's a parking space 1 per 100 square feet. By that standard, we would need 120. We've provided 314. The applicant is a developer that's aware of what happens in Lakewood, and they don't want a facility that doesn't have enough parking. This has sufficient parking. It exceeds the ordinance requirement, and it exceeds what's required by typical standards.
Okay, and Brian, correct me if I'm right. If should you use the hall, you only be using it at night, not during school hours.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay. So you have the full 315 parking spaces. Should you use it for anything else?
That is, and my testimony, as backed up by the ordinance, is that's more than sufficient parking, and it's the appropriate amount for what we're proposing.
And then again, you have the extra parking. Should you have PTA for a school function, I think it does very well to have that extra parking.
Yeah.
Never have cars parked on Oak Street.
I don't think there's one parking space in Lakewood where somebody said that's too many.
Right.
They sit vacant sometimes, but it's a whole lot better to have a couple parking spaces in the back of the lot vacant than to have somebody driving around looking for it.
I see Mr. Orbach there. Thank you very much for bringing schools with more parking than you need.
Anytime.
Okay, you have to be sworn if you testify, but thank you. It's
So continuing through the report, on page 7, item 17 indicates some additional sidewalk, and we'll provide additional sidewalk as part of resolution compliance. We'll work with the engineer to work that out. The item 18 says, depending on the number of parking spaces needed for the ballroom, they're recommending putting in some landscaping to break it up, and we would rather not do that. We'd rather leave the parking there. It's a school. I think the parking lot fits in well. It's set back from Oak Street with another school in front of it. I think we're better off with the parking, but we leave that decision up to the board. Whatever the board wants to do on that, the applicant would agree. And the rest of the comments in this report, we would satisfy during resolution compliance.
okay. Thank you, Brian. You have a traffic engineer? You want to also? Mr. Klein? You're muted. Mr. Klein, you're muted.
Scott, yes, I see Scott.
Mr. Kennel, you want to raise your hand to swear firm testimony you give before this board with the truth, all truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Scott Kennel, Kennel, with McDonough and Ray Associates.
Okay, Mr.
Testifying
Kennel.
as a traffic expert.
Okay, we accept you.
Thank you.
Let's proceed.
My office prepared a traffic report dated November 17th of this year. And it's important to recognize the traffic report included the other school that Brian had spoken about to the south, where there was consideration for 1,600 students. Therefore, when I take into consideration of the other school, the report is correct in where it demonstrated that there'd be poor levels of service during the morning and afternoon peak hours. The school itself that is before you is one that is, and identified in my traffic study, would be having staggered times, start times, and staggered dismissal times to minimize the impacts. The biggest issue is, again, we have other schools on Oak Street, and the traffic volumes on Oak Street are the highest during the morning peak hours, and then the afternoon, they're approximately 15% lower than the AM peak hour. And what's also important to recognize is that what Brian was speaking about, the multi-purpose hall, and their traffic activity will be after 6 p.m. The traffic volumes are significantly lower on Oak Street, approximately 30% of the PM peak hour. So therefore, it'll be more than enough capacity and a much different traffic situation than what you experience with the school's morning and afternoon peak hours.
What level would be the traffic? At the
With the
peak
schools,
hours?
again, it was projected in the morning and a level service F and a level service E in the afternoon, but that considers the other school to the south of us with 1,500 students.
Yeah, and that's going to come eventually.
Yes, and there is a means to mitigate that, and Brian spoke about that briefly, that if working with the township, we could restripe Oak Street to remove the parking and provide a center two-way left turn lane. That would then provide levels of service of D to E.
Right now you can park on both sides of Oak Street.
Correct.
Okay, which I think is dangerous.
So, yeah, exactly. It prevents, it obscures sight lines for vehicles coming in and out of the driveways in the various streets. So I think as a major safety improvement would be the prohibition of parking on Oak Street and also the restriping of it to provide what we call a 3-lane cross section, 1 lane in each direction, separated by a 2-way left turn lane. And that would extend from Albert up to Vine Street between the 2 signals.
I would ask the applicant if we gets approved to put in a request from the township not to have parking on the Oak Street. It's mainly schools, and all the schools have big parking lots over there. The double park cars makes it dangerous for everybody over there.
Agreed.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Yeah, Terry, please.
If I can ask Scott a couple questions, please. Scott, based on your knowledge of the area and based on your study, does the site circulation function without paving a section of Caldwell to provide a secondary access?
The site works. I mean, obviously, if it's a second point of access, it's a benefit to better distribute traffic. But again, if we provide these other improvements to Oak Street, that'll address and mitigate the impacts from this school.
All right, so if the board decides to grant approval with the recommendations that were discussed with regard to the no parking and striping on those streets, that's going to be contingent upon township review and approval, including traffic safety. If for some reason they don't agree with the concept, you may have to come back to the board in some form. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, Terry, just explain yourself. If the township doesn't want to take off the parking from Oak Street, if they would pave Caldwell, that would bring down the traffic level drastically?
What you're doing, Mr. Herschel, you're providing another access away from the frontage near Oak Street. You're separating traffic. I understand what Scott's saying, combination of the staggered drop-offs and pickups, and not having parking and restriping. I understand what he's saying in concept. We don't have anything in front of us. We typically run any traffic changes that we do to township roads through traffic safety because they have the best institutional knowledge of the area. If they agree with Scott's recommendation, that's great. If they see something that we don't sitting here, what I'm suggesting is they may need to come back.
And the applicant is aware of that, and obviously if traffic safety says it doesn't work for some reason, we would do what they ask, or we'd come back to the board.
Yeah.
Let me ask Mr. Cannell, if you do improve Caldwell, what would the traffic level be?
Well, then you're going to improve the level of service, and with the other school, you'll be projected to be a D level of service. So it's definitely would be an improvement because you're providing 2 means of access to
and Mr. Cannell,
outside of Oak Street.
If we do your recommendations that we don't park on Oak Street and we restripe it, what level can you bring it down to?
Well, there you can take the F level service down to an E, and the afternoon E to a D level of service. So there's improvements. And again, those level of service are based on both schools That's 2,900 students. It's going to take time to.
I know, but we have to be realistic. There was an application before our board for another school there, and they're going to come back.
Understood.
It's not going to be a vacant property over there. So we have to try to accommodate the road to be able to handle it.
Yeah, the reality is, though, that everybody comes out to Oak Street. So even if we put Caldwell Avenue road in, everybody's still coming out to Oak Street, and the traffic problem is really Oak Street. So the models that Scott runs are very nice models, but the drivers in Lakewood drive a little different than most of the models run. So I think we can work with traffic safety and fix the problem, which Scott has indicated is Oak Street. And again, if traffic safety says that's not going to fix it, then we'll have to improve that piece of Caldwell Avenue and extend our driveway through to there to provide the other thing. As part of resolution compliance, we will do what's needed to satisfy the board engineer and traffic safety.
Okay.
That's
reasonable, Chairman.
Say something?
Yeah. Jakey, was that you?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, 12,000 square foot Simcoe Hall with 120 parking spaces is absolutely ludicrous. Let's be real. We all know that
315, they said.
No Lakewood Simcha is there's 120 people.
No, they said 350.
You go across the street. You go across the street to TBY. Every single Simcha, there's overflow parking that is onto Oak Street. It's absolutely insane. You can have 4 Simchas on Oak Street in one night, and it will be a nightmare.
Jakey, they said 315, not 120.
I heard 120 parking spaces.
My testimony was that per the ordinance, 120 would be required, but we're providing 314. So we're providing almost 3 times what the ordinance says, because the 314 is the correct number. And I compared that with Lake Terrace, which has 350, and they have 50% more. It's a 50% bigger, 50% larger capacity.
And there's still never parking at Lake Terrace.
Yeah, it's double the size of the building, Jakey.
And we're providing parking in excess of what Lake Terrace does. Roughly 30% more parking, per occupant than Lake Terrace does.
Okay. Any other board members have any questions?
Yeah, timetable. Mr. Kennel.
Mr. Kennel, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Saber has a question for you.
If you can explain to me how a car coming out from Rockaway trying to make a left on Oak Street at 9 p.m. in the middle of the wedding, and then we have 15, 20, 30 cars stacked up behind him trying to get out of this park, trying to get out of Rockaway also. Making a left-hand turn out of Rockaway onto Oak Street, and there's no alternative. There's no other way to go out of it. It's going to create a tremendous cluster.
You're saying, and if I heard you correctly, you're speaking at 9 p.m. at night?
Anytime, whenever there's going to be a lot of cars over there. So dismissal time, it should be.
The traffic volumes on Oak Street are much lower. You also have to remember that you have the benefit of the traffic signal at Albert that platoons and provides gaps along Oak Street, as well as the traffic signal at Vine. So they also have the benefit of the traffic signals.
Mr. Kennel, have you ever been to a wedding at 9, 10 o'clock at night in Oak Street?
I have not.
Okay,
but I've reviewed traffic volumes.
I think you should stop by. I think you should stop by and take a look at it. It is crazy. And it's okay. We have the parking. Just questioning. One car trying to make a left turn, I think it's going to create on Rockaway, a huge backup.
Mr. Saber, what do you recommend?
We need another alternative to get out of this building, this parking lot, and not stack all 300 cars out of one street, if possible. I know it's going to cost a lot of money, but maybe we can figure out another alternative.
Okay. Okay. Any other board members have any questions? Okay, Mr. Sable, Brian basically testified, and if you agree with it, that they're going to go to traffic and safety. And if traffic and safety does some changes and they make it safe and it brings down the level, so be it. If not, they're going to pave the road or come back to the board.
We'll put in a condition on the approval for no parking on Oak and no parking on Rockaway.
I don't know if we can do that. I don't know legally if we. I don't know if we can do it legally. We can put a request into the township to take off.
Mr. Herzl, if I may, just based on some of
Mr.
the
Jackson,
comments. Yeah. I just have a question. I guess for Mr. Klein and perhaps for Mr. Vogt. At one point, does a Simco Hall not become an accessory to a school? It's a Simco Hall with the school as an accessory use. You know what I mean? This is an application for a school, but isn't it also an application for a ballroom? You know, what is the predominant use that's going on here? When you have 300 cars that are going to be parking for banquets, and the banquet's 12,000 square feet, I mean, which one's supporting which? And I just put that question out there.
Yeah, Mr. Jackson, I know how the last few years when a school, after school hours, if they have any function to raise money for the school, the main function is the school. If they have adequate parking and they want to make some kind of party then to raise money for the school, we always accepted it as an accessory use to the school to bring needed funds in.
And the 300 parking spaces also benefit all the school functions, the PTA nights, any events that the school has. And this is typical in Lakewood. All these schools in Lakewood are arranged this way. And when the board reviews them, typically they look at if there's a hall or a room that can be rented out, is there sufficient parking for it? And we've demonstrated on this particular application that there is sufficient parking for what's proposed. So in my opinion, this is a school application. It's a very typical school application on a property size this big. We have a lot of different schools in Lakewood. We have small schools that go in houses, but the larger schools, this is a very typical application and typical to other schools in this area.
If I may also interject, this is Gerald Klein speaking, that in the scheme of the school, I don't think there's a question that the predominant feature of this building is a school, especially when you just look at the floor size, that we're talking about a building that has a footprint of 26,000 square feet with multiple floors being used throughout the year for a school building with, sometimes after hours as a banquet, which is really a multi-purpose room, which is going to be used, like we said, for school purposes as well. I don't think that I don't think it's a stretch at all to say that it's very clear that the predominant use is as a school.
Okay, and my personal opinion, as long as you have the parking, which is benefit the school also, then you can have functions to raise money for the school. The only question is, how do we deal with Oak Street to bring down that level to bring it down?
The initial question to me was whether you could prohibit parking on side streets, et cetera. And, as a practical matter, you really can't. I mean, that would be a violation of their site plan. I mean, the way you prevent that is you make certain that there's adequate parking for the size of the facility. And if the board is concerned, and the reason why I bring this up, if the board is concerned that, and some members of the board are concerned that, who's fooling who? When you have 300 parking spaces in a 12,000 square foot banquet hall, you're going to have people parking all over the place. My point is, I don't know. Go ahead.
We could make a recommendation for the township to restrict parking on Oak Street. They could accept it or not. And then if they don't want to accept it, we can always tell them we want them to pave the other road over there to have more access.
Okay, I'm just responding to
Mr. Auerbach.
Yeah, hi, I have to just be sworn in.
Mr. Orbach, you have to be affirmed.
Yes, please, thank you.
Hold on, Mr. Auerbach, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
Okay.
I say Babakovic, I just want to say again that clearly we are in agreement. We will ask the town to do our striping as requested. If not, we are in agreement to improve that other street to provide us secondary access. And that street will be improved up until the entry point of the school. We're not going to do the whole entire thing, just to provide an additional means of egress out to improve. We have no control over the town. If the town, for some reason, decides it's not safe to have that to restripe Oak Street, or other schools don't want it, then we are in agreement to improve the other street up to our point of entry to provide a secondary access out to Oak Street, even though it will be at a pretty substantial expense.
How big is it? How long ago?
Well, what we would be doing is we'd be extending the northerly driveway out to Caldwell Avenue, and then we would extend Caldwell Avenue from there to Oak Street, which is 200 to 300 feet of roadway extension. And
yeah, it's pretty.
Auerbach said,
urgency.
Yes, we would request from the town this no parking and the restriping configuration to the satisfaction of the board engineer and traffic and safety. And if the town doesn't agree with us, then we will provide that second access, the extension of the northerly driveway and that 200 to 300 feet of Caldwell to provide a second access there.
I think that's a reasonable compromise, Chairman.
Yechiel, we cannot hear you. Yechiel, we can't hear you.
Mr. Chairman, you're on mute.
I'm not on mute. I'm not on mute.
We hear you now.
Okay, I wasn't on mute. Somebody else muted me. Okay. Do any other board members have any questions from the applicant, Mr. Flannery?
I just want to confirm, I just want to double check Mr. Auerbach's proposal that we're going to go to the township, request them to restripe Oak, no parking on both sides. If they don't issue that, then we're going to finish. Then we're going to complete Caldwell until the side of the building.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Thank you very much for that. And how about Rockaway? Can we do Rockaway also no parking?
No.
We can reach.
How about Main Street, Abe?
I can ask.
Rockaway the event. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Auerbach. Can we do Rockaway or not?
I'll be happy to ask, but if they say no to Rockaway, but they give me Oak Street, then you should say thank you, and I'll say thank you.
Okay.
You got it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other board members have any questions from the applicant? Seeing none, we would open up to the public. Okay.
One comment.
Mr. Chaim, you have another comment?
One more comment about the sidewalk. It's pretty good, pretty decent sidewalk. No? Okay, sidewalk from the entrance to the school till the entrance of the whole entrance. That sidewalk needs to be completed, I believe, or finished to have a normal walkway.
Okay. Mr. Auerbach, you agree? The sidewalks will be complete.
Okay.
Yes.
In the back, there's a bunch of entrances that don't have any access, no sidewalk or
It's
pathway.
typical building code. We'll comply with all applicable building codes.
Okay. I'm just wondering why it's not on the plan so we can see it.
He wants to make sure that we're doing our job.
Mission accomplished.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. Thank you. Mazel tov.
Okay, I will open it up to the public right now. Ali, do we have any correspondence?
Emailed comment.
I do have a comment. I'm sorry, Al, you said there was one emailed comment?
I have two.
Is that the same?
You want me to read
Just saw one come in as well.
You want me to read it, or you want to read it, Ally?
Which, I don't know which one you're,
I have the one from Mark Becker.
okay. That one is up on the screen.
I'm clicking around on my version. I'm trying to find the one I have. All right, so Mr. Herzl, do you want the board to read this? We'll place this into the record, or do you want me to just read it?
You don't have to read it. We'll leave it up on the let everybody read it for a second.
Okay, so just give the board a moment to make certain that they've read that, and then we'll just get confirmation from everyone that they've had a chance to look at it.
Okay. And then just to answer what Mr. Becker, I think, and we spoke about it, that it's not a banquet hall, it's a school hall, and it's being used for non-school uses to generate money for the school. And I think it is legal, and that's how we've been doing the last few years. Every school could rent out their hall for outside uses, and as long as they supply enough parking, which they have. So to answer this applicant, this correspondence. Okay, could we go on to the next one?
This is Mr. Becker. I'd like to say something.
Mr. Becker, don't repeat anything that you put in your email. The board has had an opportunity to read it.
Say that I will not.
Okay,
So-
Mr. Becker, you have to be affirmed.
Hold on a second, where are you? I don't see you. Do you have a video, Mr. Becker?
He's not, I don't see his, I don't think he has a
Well,
camera.
it looks like he has a computer, or do you have video, Mr. Becker?
No, I do not.
Do you affirm that do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Becker, what's your address?
I live on Vine Street,
Okay,
Lakewood.
okay.
Okay, so Mr. Klein's and Mr. Herzl's logic, I can open a restaurant in my house because the predominant use of my house is used for residential uses. I can have a restaurant for 5 hours a day and it's totally fine. I use the restaurant in order to pay my property taxes. I understand Mr. Auerbach is not happy with this and I'm very disappointed. However, this is an illegal use and it cannot be heard in front of this board. Mr. Flannery had referred
Mr. Becker, excuse me, this is the exact same point you've made in your email that the board has had an opportunity to raise. And frankly, is something I brought to the board's attention. They'll have to decide that. They have your argument, but you don't get to do it twice.
Thank you. I'm going to say one other point. I'm going to hang up. And before that, there's plenty of parking over here, just like there is in more than Lake Terrace. It's enough for over here. The problem and the flaw with his argument is that Lake Terrace is being sued by the neighbors. Parking facilities, and they're losing their businesses, and they can't hold meetings over there anymore. There's a lawsuit going on right now by Clayton Associates. The point is that there really is not enough parking. I pass by that area every single day. You can take a look at some of the distributions. It's nuts. You should make it illegal to park in Rockaway if you do approve it. I disagree with Mr. Auerbach, and the township will do it if they're asked to do it. That's my point.
Okay, thank you. And he agreed to ask the township to do it. And he agreed to put a petition into the township. So thank you. Okay, on to the next correspondence.
Hold on, Mr. Herzl. I don't want to shortchange Mr. Becker, and I just want to confirm that the board has had an opportunity to review what his comments were.
No problem.
And I'll summarize. People go on, but he makes his argument here. I think it's very direct, succinct, and to the point. I just didn't want to do it twice. But could you just confirm that everybody's had an opportunity to read his letter? His email of December 22nd, 2020.
Everybody is muted. Did everybody all the board members read this letter?
We're not approving a ballroom. We're not approving a banquet hall. We're approving a school. Whatever they do,
Well,
issue.
That's for deliberations, and that will be at the appropriate time. Right now, I just want to confirm that everybody's had a chance to read it, because I stopped him from doing it twice, but in fairness to him, I want to make sure everyone's read his email.
I think it's...
Now, is there any board member who has not had an opportunity to read this full email?
I haven't.
Okay.
Mr. Garfield's on the
It's on the phone,
so you have to read it.
Okay, so Mr. Jackson, you want to paraphrase what it says in the letter?
Sure. Okay, it says there's an application. He says the fact this is supposed to be a ballroom is actually a huge wedding hall, also known as a banquet hall, available for rental every single night. The building shows Shipper room, Kabbalah room, I hope I'm saying this right, family room, Simcha hall, wedding meals and dance, Simcha kitchen, and other banquet-related areas totaling over 30,000 square foot. The entire underground area is separated from the actual school facility. Operations on the upper floors. It says the applicant's aware that the banquet halls are prohibited in the R10 zone, and they don't matter what creative phrase they use, but the truth is, and to summarize what he's saying, he says, this is not the right board. They want to put a prohibited use in here, and this should be in front of the Board of Adjustment. In front of the Board of Adjustment. That's what his argument is.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Purcell. I just want to make sure everybody saw that.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I wanted to add, it's not a 30,000 square foot facility. It's only a 12,000 square foot. I think 30,000 is the whole building, including the whole school. Is that correct, Mr. Albert? Okay. It's only a 12,000, not a 30,000.
Well, can we check that with Mr. Flannery? Mr. Flannery,
Yes, sure. That's what he testified.
Well, I just want to confirm that.
No problem.
The objector says that when you count all of the elements that go with the hall, and that came off, I have to get up my version. What he's saying is that what's available for rental, when you count the kitchen, the dance room, other banquet hall related areas, kitchen, lobby, that it's over 30,000 square feet. You see, what is that accurate or inaccurate?
Use. It is one use that, go ahead, Brian, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Brian, I think you're muted. I just requested an unmute.
30,000 square feet is not accurate. The footprint of the building is only 26,000 square feet. The hall itself is 12,000 square feet. If you add up the areas of the other rooms, you come to about 18,000 square feet.
Okay, and the rooms are not used two separate. I mean, I know from the Jewish weddings, a chuppah room is not used with a ballroom at the same time.
Right, and that's adding in the bathrooms and the lobby and rooms that aren't being used or creating any additional people. It's nobody comes here to go to the bathroom and not go into the hall.
And the chuppah room is not used at the same time as the ballroom is being used. Okay. Mr. Orbach, is that correct?
That is correct. It is not a continuous use. They go from room to room, from the lobby to the coat room to use the bathroom, and it's not, the ballroom is a 12,000 square foot ballroom. In comparison to the size of the school, it's a fraction. This is a huge school. It's a big building, and they will be having performances in the auditorium as well. It's ballroom. They have a whole play for the school function. They're going to have it downstairs in the ballroom.
Okay. Even if you have a simcha, that you're not going to have more than one simcha. You're not renting out two separate rooms.
No.
It's one function that will be at a time. One thing at a time. Okay. I just want to put it on the record.
And the record will reflect that Ms. Morris has put up the screen that shows the architectural layout that everybody's discussing now.
Okay. Ali, can you please put on the second correspondence? Okay.
Jackson, do you want me to read that one?
Okay.
Yes.
This is from Moshe Zinus. It says, "Hi, planning board members. Lake Terrace and Nemus Kashaim both have 2 roads in and out. This school should also have 2 roads. I urge the board to require Caldwell Avenue to be improved." From Moshe Zinus.
Okay. Okay, does that
Mr.
include?
Chairman.
Yes. This is Chaim?
Yes. Can we ask Mr. Orbach, the bottom line is how much money would that cost to finish Caldwell? Not the entire property of the building, just until the entrance. The bottom line number. We're building a building over here, $14-15 million. How much more money is going to cost to finish Caldwell?
Again, Mr. Sable, if it's extra, regardless of the cost involved, if we could accomplish the same impact by restriping Oak Street, that'll give us the same impact for traffic safety. Then it accomplishes that. Why should the school spend an extra $100,000 or $500,000? That's not the point. Same time, we agree that if for whatever reason we cannot accomplish that, then we do agree at whatever the cost is. It could be $500,000. We are agreeing to go ahead and put in that road. Yes, but just to put it in because
Comparable.
What?
Mr. Orbach, it's not comparable not parking on Oak Street and having 2 exit ways.
It's not just not parking,
it's not
disabled.
anything.
It's disabled. It's not just not parking. It's a 2-way. It allows for a center turning lane. Traffic will flow much as the traffic professional testified.
Okay,
I'm
please
not just
ask, how
making
much
this up. They have a
how much
traffic.
money? How much money do you think it will cost?
Let's say it's $250,000. What's the difference?
Because if it's the minimum, it's not the minimum.
Are you willing to sponsor that?
No.
Call me
no,
afterwards. We'll figure out something. I don't know.
Yeah, I just feel comfortable that to bring it down to a normal level, the traffic study should be brought down to a normal level.
And we agreed. If we cannot accomplish that with the restriping of Oak Street, we agreed to that.
Okay. Okay. Ali, are there any other correspondence?
No, that's all I received.
Okay, so I will close it to the public. Yes, Mr.
Chairman,
Sable.
can we do a roll for ask the board if they think Caldwell needs to finish if Oak Street is improved? If they add 2 lanes, there's no parking, if the board feels comfortable.
Okay, I don't mind asking the board, but I think more important, we should feel what level service do we want to see there, and if they could accomplish it either way, we should leave it up to the traffic and safety. They know better what's best for the town.
Yeah, I don't know if
And I don't mind. Okay, let's. I don't have everybody up on the screen. Mr. Say, what's your opinion?
If the cost is not significant, I think it's a benefit. But if whatever the majority of the board says, I'll go along with them.
Okay, Justin, are you there? I don't know. Seriously.
Yeah, I'm here. Of course, I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
What's your opinion? Should they pave Caldwell or just get traffic and safety to restripe Oak Street?
I think that I agree with the position that you're taking, and that that the applicant should first go to traffic and safety, see if the town is willing to stripe Oak Street and also prohibit parking on one side. If they are, I agree with you. I think that at the end of the day, all the traffic goes onto Oak Street. So if we could accomplish a reasonable level of service on Oak Street, I think it's a success, and we don't have to ask the school to spend significantly more money. I think $250,000 is very significant. It's significant to me to do that improvement on Caldwell. If the town can't do that, then the applicant already indicated they'll come back and they'll do the improvement on Caldwell.
No, we're not going to come back. We're just going to improve the road.
Okay.
Even better. They don't have to come back. Even better.
Okay. J.K., are you there? Mr. Meyer, are you there?
I second what Justin said.
Okay, and Mr. Garfield, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, do you have an opinion?
I'm not happy about putting all the traffic on Oak. I know that.
Yeah, regardless, if we pave Caldwell, it's still ultimately going to end up on Oak Street.
Correct.
Right.
Unless they agree when they have a large party, I'll call it, that the people have to arrange to get a person to help direct traffic and pay for it.
Okay.
To stop traffic, let a car come out, so it's not more backing up. And they have to include that as part of the cost of renting the hall.
Should they have a big party?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can say a party exceeding 150 people, 150 cars, however you want to say it, they would have to pay for the getting of a guard to direct traffic. Now that may be able to move things a lot better.
Mr. Orbach, you shaking your head?
Yeah, I'm shaking my head again. If it's not going to work, believe me, it's in our best interest to make it work. If it's backed up, we're going to have to hire a volunteer service or hire a traffic temporary traffic control to go ahead and direct traffic. Again, I stand by what I said. We all agree we want it to work, and we are agreeable to ask traffic and safety, which will accomplish that. If it does not, we are in agreement to go ahead and pave the road for the other entrance. If traffic and safety agrees to restripe boat and we don't do the other entrance and it backs up, believe me, people are not going to be happy. They're going to call the owner. He's going to hire any volunteer service or hire a traffic guard to arrange that. We don't have to require us to make it work.
I don't think anybody's going to make a party there
if it
doesn't work.
Exactly.
Right. I think it's in your best interest to make sure that it works. By hook or by crook.
Correct.
This is Gerald Klein, if I may just interject as well.
Yes.
If traffic and safety themselves recommends that, I'll let Mr. Orbach also weigh in, but I believe then we would agree that we would follow the recommendation on this.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes.
did the board not recently have another school on Caldwell where they requested a waiver from improving Caldwell and the board did not approve it on the southern end of Caldwell? So this would essentially be cutting off that access from Caldwell from Chestnut to Oak Street.
Brian, are you there?
Yes, the school that was on before the board was to the south of us. And they requested not to put in Caldwell also because they were doing their access from Rockaway. Caldwell doesn't go any further to the south, so improving Caldwell really doesn't have that kind of a benefit. So, and the board did not act on that other application. The other application didn't have sufficient parking, and the board kind of recommended they go back to the drawing board, which I believe they have. So there's no indication that any.
Brian, I don't think that's the project I was talking about. I'm talking about a project by New Lines on Chestnut Street. Even one more tax map sheet to the south.
Okay, well, the whole area between Fern Avenue and Chestnut Street is mainly township-owned property, and it's in the sending district. So that's an area that the township is trying not to improve. So I think they're far enough apart that it would not have any correlation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman, we're still in the middle of a roll call, asking the board.
I think I asked everybody. I think I asked everybody.
Jake, and anybody else on?
Jakey, Justin, I asked, they both said that we should do with the recommendation of the township, the traffic and safety, and I agree with that. And the only one, Mr. Garfield said that should there be a lot of traffic over there, we should get a traffic guard or a volunteer to stand there.
Now, I said, during the time they're holding an affair.
Right. And I think Mr. Orbach said he will do whatever it takes to make sure that it works. To make sure that
Brian, you just mentioned that there's another school coming up to the south of this building. They're back to the drawing table. They want to come back. Did you just mention that?
The township owns the vacant property to the south, and I believe they will sell that to a school.
And that school, so why shouldn't everybody finish their part and eventually have another access for all schools on Caldwell? If we're going to give the waiver now, the next school is also going to get the waiver. I don't know, maybe share the cost. Can we do something?
Well, my point was that all the traffic comes out to Oak Street anyway. It would be different if we were getting some of the traffic to go a different place. It all comes out to Oak Street. If we can make the intersection handle the volume that's going to come there, then it's probably better to have it there. And as Mr. Orbach indicated, if it requires a person there during an event to manage the traffic, the owner's going to have to do that because otherwise nobody will rent it. So my opinion is by improving Caldwell, it doesn't help anything out because all the traffic's got to come on Oak Street and it's got to fit on Oak Street.
Eventually, Rockaway Avenue can be finished, improved until Vine Street, and then we have another access. We can avoid Oak Street. Vine Avenue eventually is going to be finished for the township or somebody that I think they're arguing about it. But then we finish Rockaway to Vine, to Vermont. Rockaway to Vermont, then we have another access. We can avoid Oak Street.
If Rockaway is improved to Vermont and it's quite a distance, yes, it provides a second access point. But we're here with a permitted use, virtually a conforming application. The only relief we're asking for is for the buffers that are not needed because there's no residences around. And we're providing parking that exceeds the ordinance requirements. We're indicating that we're going to meet with traffic safety, and if the numbers don't work, we'll improve a piece of Caldwell. I think this applicant is going further than other applicants have.
It is a design waiver you're requesting. Aside for the buffer, you are requesting a design waiver. So there's a buffer. We're not arguing about the buffer. We're discussing the design waiver.
Yes.
Okay. Ali, I'm looking at the screen. There's somebody, Avram and Binny on it. Would they?
We have not opened to the public for callers, so.
I know, so I should. We open up to the correspondence. I should open to the public. How many people do we have on?
I only see 2 in addition to Mr. Becker, who we already heard from.
Okay, so I will open up to the public to people calling. So, Jillian, if you could unmute. There's 2 people there. I see Avram and Binny.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I just sent a request to unmute to both of those people.
Okay, who's last digit 83? Is that Mr. Garfield?
Hold on. No, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Are you the last digit 83?
Yes.
Okay, so that's you. Okay, is Avram or Binny on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you have to be affirmed in and state your name for the record. But you have to be affirmed by.
Why don't we go with the forum first? Do you swear or affirm testimony you'll give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
What was that?
Please state your name for the record. Avram what?
Avram Landau.
Okay, and what's your address?
My address, I live on Truman Avenue.
Okay, please proceed.
No, I was just, I'm the owner of the school.
Okay.
I believe I worked with Mr. Ormas on a very detail-oriented plan, how we can, I'm not interested in putting up a building this size or this capacity to be, to have only problems of traffic. We try to do everything in our powers to make an edifice for the school building the more important thing is not 9 o'clock at night by weddings. The most important thing is that kids should be able to get out of school safely, into school safely, which is the most important thing for us. I believe it works for that. It'll definitely work for any other time of night or day that it is needed.
Okay, thank you. Is Binny still on? Jillian, did you send a request on mute?
I did send a request, so Binny, if you'd like to speak. I'm so sorry.
There you go.
There we go.
Binny, are you there?
observing from the
I think
sidelines.
Vinny works for New Line.
Okay. I just want to make sure that before I close it to the public. Is somebody been there? Okay,
He did say he's observing from the sideline. I believe he is with New Line.
okay. So then I will close it to the public. There's nobody else. And I would ask for a motion on this application.
Chaim Say will make a motion to approve this application with the conditions that we discussed with Mr. Orbach regarding the Oak Street, no parking on both sides, traffic, turning signal, turning lanes, and sidewalk finishing.
It's not a condition. Okay, we'll leave it up to traffic and safety, or they're going to take off the parking, or they're going to recommend that they pave Caldwell. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, we can't make a condition because it's up to the county or the township should they allow a parking there or not.
And if not, we're going to get Caldwell with the improvements and sidewalk, whatever needed, and as well as sidewalk that additional as I mentioned in the middle, from the entrance to the hall till the entrance to the school and the back, all the sidewalks. The more, the better.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a second?
I didn't get the Matoiv and Manoim, Chairman. Is that what Chaim? I'll second. I'll second. Matoiv and Manoim. No Simchas Bayidin.
Okay. 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 Roll call.
Mr. Garfield.
Yes.
Mr. Garfield, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Sable.
Yes.
Mr. Flansbaum.
Yes.
Mr. Herzl.
Yes.
Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Approval of minutes.
Move.
Moved and second. Approval of bills.
Move.
Second.
Moved second.
Second.
Okay. I think, Ali, this is our last meeting for the year.
Yes.
I would like to thank all board members and all professionals. It was a very difficult year being, on the phone. We couldn't meet in person this year. Hopefully next year everybody should be healthy and we could all meet in the township again, all be together. Everybody should have wonderful holidays, have a wonderful new year.
Yeah.
And I hope to see everybody back next year again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
And same
Have
to
a good
you.
night.
Guys.
All right, take care, everybody. Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Bye, everyone.
One.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.